If you're looking to build a deeper connection with your audience this year and you're a passionate business owner with a message to share, then I would love to help you do that via podcasting. If you're interested in starting a podcast this year, head over to donnaeade.com/apply to register your interest today. Don't forget to hit subscribe where you listen and rate and review the podcast if you've enjoyed it. You can also share this episode with a friend. It is a great way to help the podcast out to get to more listeners just like you. You're listening to the Mindset and Action Podcast, the place to be to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade. Let's jump into the show. Your purpose explains what you're doing with your life. Your vision explains how you're living your purpose. Your goals enable you to realize your vision. Bob Proctor. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm so glad to have you here today. And I also have with me a lovely guest. Leigh, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for having me, and hello to your listeners.
It's unusual for us to have guys on the podcast, I have to say. I would like more guys on the podcast, but they have been few and far between. So when I get a guy on the podcast, I'm always very excited to share, because I do have male listeners and I feel like sometimes they feel a little left out with all the female energy that comes out of this podcast. So thank you for coming on.
Pleasure. Hopefully I can bring some good male energy then.
Brilliant. So what I would like to do first is for you to introduce yourself to my listeners, let them know a little bit about your background, what it is that you do and how you came to be doing what you do, because I think that's a fascinating story.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. So you might be able to detect by my accent a little bit that I do have an Australian accent. I was born in Australia and lived there till I was 19 to a British mother and an Australian father. So my mum was from Leeds originally. When I got to 19, I'd finished university, or I started university over there, and just decided I wanted to see some of the world. So packed up my bag at 19 and said, I'm off. I'll see you in a year. I want to discover myself and find out what life's really about. And I guess it didn't seem brave or bold to me at the time, but all my friends thought, wow, what are you doing? Because a lot of Australians don't even go out of Australia. And it was one of the greatest decisions I made, because it made me grow up. It helped me to see some other parts of the world and other cultures. So I decided that I wanted to stay and went to university over here for 6 years on an evening. Got a degree in business and IT. And in my final year of that degree, the university supported me in starting my business, which was a digital marketing agency.
Wow.
And digital marketing had only just really started then. This was 2006. So I started offering Google Ads and quite quickly found some great customers, one of them being Silver Cross, the pram company, so one of the most prestigious British brands.
I used to get pushed around in one of those when I was a baby.
Yeah, the old prams. Most people recognise them from the old prams with the big wheels. Very, very historical brand for Britain. And that relationship went on for 9 years. So I did a lot of digital marketing for them. Fantastic company to work for. And the owner was brilliant until he sold in, I think, 2015. And it was to the Chinese or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, we'd moved on as a business by then anyway. So, 2006 started as an agency, a small agency, got up to about 5 staff. But then children came along and I was recognizing that I was working way too much and not being present, and was basically copying what my dad had done. Again, my dad was a fantastic guy and still is a fantastic guy, but he worked hard. So we didn't spend a lot of time together, and I didn't want that. I didn't want that for my kids. So I turned it more into a bit of a lifestyle business. Again, we worked with some great brands. We helped the Mercedes Formula One team for a few years. So again, all of this sounds fantastic. You're growing an agency, you've got a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
And it was good. I'm not ungrateful for it, but it did get to the point where I was feeling unfulfilled. I was helping a lot of these businesses grow big and sell a commodity. And I was like, I really want something more out of life. So I had this sort of longing that I wanted to do something more with what I was doing. And then I was a bit discontent, bit of unsettlement with the where we were. So 2019, I started to think about coaching, wasn't really sure what that was going to look like, but thought, you've got 17 years of experience learning and teaching about digital marketing. Let's start with that. Then on the 1st of August, 2019, which is the morning of my twin boy's birthday, I was diagnosed with bone cancer. And initially I was like, I didn't have any fear at all. It was almost like a switch went on and said, okay, you've created this, something's happened. What are you going to do to figure it out? And that's how I'd always been as a kid. Like, I want to figure things out on my own. Blah, blah, blah. So there was no fear, but I had to go home and break it to my wife that, we had 15 kids coming around in an hour, and she's messaging me going, where are you? What's going on? And I'm
like, my God.
I'll come home and tell you, and we've got these kids coming. So naturally, it's more fearful for the people around you. So I said, look, let's just put this to the side for now. Let's just go ahead with the party, and we'll discuss what we're going to do and who we're going to tell. Now, I didn't want the kids to know. They were 10 years old, and until I'd figured it out, because, the verdict was we never knew how long I was even going to live.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I started chemotherapy treatment. Didn't feel good. The drugs weren't making me feel good at all. I wasn't able to show up as the parent that I wanted to be. And then an advert popped up in front of me from an old gentleman that said, your way's not working. Why don't you try mine? Mm-hmm. And that was the moment where things started to shift and change in my life.
Wow. Your pinnacle moment. I love that. And I think it's, well, first of all, I mean, you end there on quite a note for sure. Tell everybody where you are, and because that was a while ago now. So how are you health-wise? Is it all good? Did you get the all clear? How long have we been in remission? All of that jazz, just so that people aren't worried, because we worry as people.
Absolutely. So just to let everybody know, I'm absolutely fine, and I did get over it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what happened with that guy, he became my mentor. His name was Bob Proctor. He'd helped people in the personal development industry for over 60 years.
Yeah.
And because I was looking, he popped up. Now, there's lots of people that do personal development or whatever, but for me, it was like I wanted someone who had some experience and could tell me some home truths that I probably needed to hear. So he became my mentor. He actually passed away at early 2022. He was 89, but he was coaching us up until a week before he passed.
Oh, wow.
Super guy.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff about him online and so forth. Great coach for me. And he said, look, Leigh, he said, everything begins with your thoughts. You are thinking something that's manifesting in your body. So you've got a choice. You either be truthful about it and get to the core crux of it now. That'll help you get over it.
Yeah.
So from a kid, I'd always held things in. And like a lot of men do in particular, we're good at holding in our emotions. So I never knew how to deal with that emotion.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what I was doing. Let's say in business, I was doing something and it wasn't working. I'd project that everything was okay, but actually internally I was going, I failed there and I don't want people to know, and really holding it in my bones.
Yeah.
If you look back at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do that for 30 years, every single day, naturally your body becomes toxic and stressed or whatever. So the easy option for me to do was to continue with the treatment, but I'd lost 2 friends in the previous couple of years to going through chemotherapy and so forth. I thought, I don't want to do that. I want to have a look at a different way. So I stopped the drug after about a month, and my wife had said to me, you're not enjoying this, are you? I said, no, not at all. I said, I'm not. She goes, why don't you stop? I said, well, actually, I stopped yesterday. She goes, I know you, and I know you would have. However, I want you to, if it gets worse, that you'll go back. And I said, just let me go down this path. I believe in it. So I started to visualize what I wanted my life to look like. And when it all sort of kicked off, what was how I was playing football with my kids, but I just didn't have the energy to continue playing. So the new version or the new vision that I was looking at was seeing myself playing football with my kids and being healthy, seeing me and my wife walking at the beach with the dog and talking about our future plans for holidays and where we want to go. And at first, my life at that point didn't look anything like it. My business was challenging me. I wasn't able to do either of those things. I'd had a diagnosis that I didn't feel well. I was at the hospital every week having blood tests, and even still through that, I still felt pretty good, as in positive about it, but I didn't want to just have a positive mindset anymore. I wanted to be like, right, what actions do I need to take that actually shift this?
Yeah.
So doing the visualization, after about 2 months, I could start to feel a shift. And then after about 3 months, I went and had a blood test. So they gave me a blood test every 3 months. The first one, okay, things are starting to look good. The drugs are working. So I didn't tell them that I wasn't taking them. 3 months later, I go back for the second blood test, and they're like, unbelievable. The drug's working fantastic. You're in remission.
Wow.
So, got something to tell you. I haven't been taking the drug. Eastern European lady, she was like, you don't know what you're doing. This is
Have
your
you just
life.
looked at the blood test?
But I'm very, very grateful to her and her team, because what they supported me through and took me through was amazing. I just chose not. And I didn't know if it was going to work or not. And I certainly didn't want them to judge me and say, hey, get back on it. However, it did.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a big catalyst to sort of go, okay, just the way I'm thinking, just the way I'm feeling, if I reprogram that and look at it a different way for my health, and it can do this, what happens if I apply it to my relationships with my children and my wife and my customers? And then what happens if I apply it to my business and what I want to do? That's where the trajectory of my life changed.
Oh, amazing, amazing story. I love that. And it leads us really nicely into what I want us to talk about today, which is our visions. And I think it's safe to say that we all kind of start the year with gusto, and, you know, it's a new year, it's a fresh page. And even though we all know that every day is a new day and we can make choices based in that, and we don't have to sort of stick with what we've put down on January 1st, I think we just all do generally use it as this fresh start and clean slate, new page, create a new vision. You know, I did a vision board workshop on the 7th of January, created my vision board. It's right here on my screen. I absolutely love it. And I think we all kind of do things like that and then go through the planning process, setting goals. But it comes to this time of the year, and as we're releasing this episode, it's sort of the 15th of February. All the good intentions have gone out the window. We're back on the chocolate. We're eating takeaway pizza because we haven't got the energy to cook. The vision is not in the forefront of our mind anymore, and things start to slip. So I would love to hear from you, somebody who has had some really powerful results from vision and creating that vision for yourself. How do we keep those visions sort of vibrant and, you know, those goals in the forefront of our mind when things start to, you know, time goes by and we fall back into old patterns? So what would you say for people about that?
The first thing is to have the awareness of that pattern. So if you notice that you've written down something that you would love, first is to notice, okay, am I actually stopping doing that now? And you quite often see people do this with their health. So the beauty about, if it's a health goal or vision that you've got, there's only you that's in control of that. There's no other people involved. If it's a relationship or it's a business, there's other people. So that can be a bit more challenging.
Yeah.
So for me, I noticed that in the past, I would have these dreams or visions, and then my old conditioning would come in and pull me back. However, I didn't know that's what it was doing at the time. It wasn't until I learned these skills. So what happens now is, when you notice that you're starting to drift or not do it, what you've got to do is reconnect with that vision. So like you mentioned before, you've got that vision board there. So anytime that you start to feel, okay, today I'm not feeling it, go back and sit and look at that vision board. Now, some people like it visually. For me, I like to write it down, the power of writing it down and then listening to it on record. So even when you're going after some of those things, some of them are going to take time and you require a different level of skill. So for me, for my health, I needed to picture myself playing football with my boys. Okay. But the skill I had to do was I had to learn to do visualization every day and do a form of meditation. Now, I'm not talking about sitting there and being a monk. I'm talking about just 10 to 15 minutes of silence where I just had my eyes shut and was seeing myself doing that. Now, the old version of me prior to being told I had bone cancer would never have done that.
No.
It's all woo-hoo. It's all woo-hoo. I don't need that. I'm a strong male. You just get up and you grind and work hard.
Yeah.
But for 25 years, that didn't actually get me the result I wanted. And if anything, got me a result I didn't want. So when I started to apply this and saw it happen, I was like, hang on a minute, I can do this in a much easier way. And actually, it's quite nice to sit and have these moments to just, what would I love? And that's the most powerful question you can ever ask yourself in any situation. So if you're challenged with your kids, okay, stop. What would I love? Well, I'd love to have a relationship where I'm more calm and less reactive. Okay, it's your responsibility then, because the kids are copying you. If it's your business, what would you love your business to look like? Who do I want to serve? Do I want to grow a podcast? Okay, what type of people do I want to listen to this podcast and what do I want it to look like? Okay, now what steps can I take to make that happen? And again, as you find, because your old conditioning will always try to pull you back to where it's safe. Just pause at that moment, reconnect with that vision, whether it's written down or it's a vision board. And if you do that and get into the habit of doing it even daily, I still do it now daily because my visions for what I saw my life to look like in that first year, I'm way past them now. And where I want my life to go in the next 3 years from now, I'm working on some of those things. And some of those things are taking some considerable patience. There's no instant gratification, but I just keep reconnecting to it because I know this process works when you just keep going, okay, don't allow your old patterns to come in. Just keep reconnecting to that thing that you love.
I think that's so important. And that's something that I implemented because I did a vision board the year before and I set it as my screensaver. I then did some values work and I set my values as my screensaver. I didn't even print off my vision board. I don't even remember what it looked like. And this year I said, right, it's going on my computer. And when I sit down to start work in the morning, I spend 5 minutes looking at that and then visualizing what that looks like in reality. So I love that you said that. So for people who perhaps haven't ever created a vision board or created a vision for themselves in any other way, or who find setting goals difficult, what are the parameters that you would suggest for creating this space where we have the time and the stuff in front of us that's going to help us to create that vision?
First and foremost, you've got to use your imagination. Now, quite often we're very good, especially as we get older, of limiting that imagination. And you think, well, what could I have? You've got to put all of that to the side and go, no, what would I love? That's the question you ask. And you put money to the side, you put time to the side, or any obstacles or challenges you've currently got, and go, what would I love? If everything was to work out, how would I like it to look? Then when you've got that down, what that becomes is like your powerful statement where you go, okay, what steps or goals can I put in place now to make that happen? And that's the most important part there where you start to go, okay, I've thought about it. How does it make me feel when I do it? Is it in alignment with my values? Can it help other people? And then what action steps can I take? And then what that does is start training you to take action on it. Because there's lots of people who do visualization or create vision boards. I want a bigger house. I want to go on holiday. And then they sit waiting for it to come. And unfortunately, the universe doesn't do that. All it does is give you other lessons to say, hey, if you want these things, you need to take some steps and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Okay. So sometimes when we are creating a vision, we can do that. We take the action. I'm an action taker. I have an accountability buddy, and she's the person who's going to sit there and sort of really get into the weeds of the deep planning and structure, and she wants to have all of her ducks in a row, whereas I'm just like, no, I'm just going to go and do it. So I'm very much the action person and she's the planner, so we balance each other out nicely. But when you've got that vision and you kind of take that action, but things aren't happening on the timeline that you anticipate, that I think that's one of the things that, you know, it's always, we want it on our timeline, and when it doesn't happen and we think we're doing all the work, it's really easy to kind of give up on that. What would you say to people who are kind of like, but I'm doing all the things, I've got the vision, I've got the plan, I'm taking the action, it's not happening for me? What do you say to those people?
Once I actually applied this to my health, I think because I had something so burning, it happened pretty quickly for me. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. However, when I then stepped into wanting to grow my business, that became more of a challenge. So I had a vision. I was doing and taking action, and things were not showing up in the time frame that I hoped for. And that was a challenging moment to be in. So for your listeners that get into that, know that actually what's happening there is you're getting valuable lessons, and it's being or allowing yourself to be able to stop and go, okay, what is the lesson that I'm getting here? So you're teaching yourself to say, okay, this is what it looks like as it's all working out. And at the moment, I don't have the skill or the knowledge in this particular step that I'm taking. So let's start just looking at that rather than stopping and going, oh, this isn't for me, or, you know, it's meant for somebody else and not me. It is meant for you. But what's happening right there is you're at that limit where you need to persist and figure out, okay, what? So for me, I had to. It was like, okay, I wanted the first 3 months of me growing a coaching business, I didn't have a customer. And I was like, okay, why is this happening? Because I needed to learn the skill to be able to talk to people and find out what their problem was and then help them solve it. The old business that I had was, this is the service that we have, and if you need it, come to me. So it was easy. Whereas this one was actually, I needed to understand. So once I'd learnt that part, okay, what's the next step? Okay, now I need to be able to amplify this. Okay, what's the next step? Actually, you've got a couple of customers here that don't align with your values. Okay, now I've got some values and some standards and the types of people that I like to help that align with me. Doesn't mean the ones that don't have the values aren't, they're probably better for somebody else. So when you're in it, knowing that, okay, I need to do some growth here. And the thing that I like to do is go, okay, if this took me 3 years, what steps could I take today? And that takes the pressure off, because a lot of people, like you said, want to have it by tomorrow or by the end of next week or by the end of the month. And sometimes you can have that vision or that goal and miss. You know, I missed one by a year. But actually, I look back at that and go, that was the year I grew the most. So I'm grateful for that lesson. When I was in it, I'm not going to, you know, tell you that I enjoyed it, but I stopped every day and sort of went, this is what it looks like. And actually, I'm doing the same thing right now. And even you growing your podcast, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to help more people, you have to go through these levels of growth.
Yeah.
Can it be uncomfortable? Yeah, but you can make it really uncomfortable and not enjoy it, or look at the lessons and go, great. And again, the old version of me didn't. I didn't want to fail.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, failure is not an option for so many people. Oh, it's just such a good outlook on life. And I think, especially at this time of year when people are kind of maybe waning on their New Year's resolutions and plans that they had, it's a good one to bring us back to that vision and that bigger plan that we have for ourselves. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So before we go, I would love it if you could tell people a little bit about how you work and how people could work with you.
Yeah. So right now I'm coaching a lot of business owners. So if you have a business and you're trying to expand that, I use a lot of the skills from my days of growing businesses like Silver Cross, Mercedes, so forth, and just helping you not only focus on the tasks that you can do for your business, but also the tasks you can do for yourself. Because I know I got stuck at that point of always doing things for the business, but not actually looking after the things that are in line with my value. So I want everybody to have a vision for what their life looks like. And then we look at how do we execute that. Best places, just follow me on social media first. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. I post videos. It's more for people to get to know, like, and trust about what I'm doing. And then if at that point you want to step over and learn some more, you can. Otherwise, keep consuming the videos and learn from those. So, my objective is just to share this information with as many people as I can.
Yeah.
So, I've even started writing a book now, which would never, and that will be my legacy, and it'll be from the stories from the people that we help.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. I will make sure that all Leigh's socials are linked in the show notes, guys, so that you can go over and follow him. Just so you know, Twinkle has now come and sat on my lap. So my listeners are used to Twinkle being around in the background. Usually the mic doesn't pick her up too much, but sometimes she can be a little bit loud. So just a warning. So before we wrap up, I have a quick fire round that I do with my guests to help us get to know you a little bit more, uncover some interesting facts. So first of all, I would love to ask you, what is your book that has made the biggest impact on your life thus far?
The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. It's the first book I read, which really helped me start to understand these principles. And it's very, very easy to digest. And it's actually the one I give as a gift to people, because as a starting point, it is brilliant. It covers all areas of life, and you can apply the principles into your own life just by reading the notes.
Yeah.
Brilliant book.
Brilliant. It sounds fantastic. The subconscious mind is something that came into my world last year in a big way with me doing the values work with my vitality coach. So yeah, the power of the subconscious mind, it's amazing. So that's a great book. I will link that for you guys in the show notes as usual. What is your favorite go-to snack when you're in a hurry? We could tell a
What I
lot about a
like to go
person.
to the most is mango, blueberries, and red grapes, because I always enjoy it. But sometimes I find myself grabbing the stuff that I shouldn't be grabbing. But yeah, that's
Don't we
definitely
all?
my favorite.
Don't we all? I like it. So your favorite snack is a good one. So I like that. And what is your ultimate me time thing to do?
I love getting out into nature. So whether that's predominantly walking, I love the Yorkshire Dales. I love getting out there in the sunny day. So for me, I think it's the peacefulness of it, and then the beauty of the scenery. I guess coming from Australia, yes, we have some wonderful scenery and wonderful animals and so forth, but it's not on the level of the Dales.
That's true. It's very green out there. I love that, and I really like asking that question to my male guests, because I think a lot of times it's seen as a bit of a female thing, your self-care thing to do. But it's really nice to have a male perspective on things. It's really nice to hear your answers to that, and also to just this whole episode, which I think a lot of guys can resonate with that whole, I'm the guy, I can do it, I've got all the plates, I can handle everything, and locking all the emotions inside. So it's really nice to get a guy on here talking about how you move past that, because I think I've had women on here that are coaches that talk about similar things, but often you need to hear it from somebody who knows where you're coming from. And I think a lot of guys kind of go, no, they're talking about that woo-woo stuff again, and it doesn't hit as well as it can when it comes from somebody who's just as much of a guy as you are. So I really appreciate your thoughts and perspectives today, Leigh. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just for those guys that are listening, don't leave it till the last minute like I did. I left it way too long, and getting over that vulnerability took me a while. But when I was able to do it, things shifted and changed in my life. So I highly recommend, don't leave it till it's too late.
Yeah.
Take a step. Just take a step.
That's all it takes, one step. Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you
Donna.
guys for listening in. Make sure that you are subscribed where you listen so you don't miss out on more fantastic interviews in the months to come. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.